Hi, everyone, and welcome to Reporters here on France 24. The war in Ukraine is being waged on many fronts, from Odessa on the Black Sea to Irpin in the north and on to the capital of Kyiv. One of our correspondents has followed that trail of violence and devastation from city to city. She is Gwendoline de Bono, and she joins us now. Gwendoline, you just returned from your travels in Ukraine. You've also been into other conflict zones. What's different about what's happening in this war?
The first thing I would say that it is a high-intensity conflict. It's two regular armies facing each other. For me, it was the first time that I covered this type of conflict. High-intensity conflict involves a lot of resources. Losses are extremely high on both sides. In the report, we see the morgue of Mykolaiv, which is a city located nearby the big port city of Odessa. I spent 2 days in the morgue, and every 10 minutes, bodies of Ukrainian soldiers were brought by their comrades, bodies of Russian soldiers too. So you realize there what does mean high-intensity conflict. The defensive spirit of the Ukrainian people is also very striking. A huge majority of Ukrainians support their army and they help. They are enlisting, but they are doing really many things to support the army. So this great resilience is also something really striking in Ukraine.
Okay, Gwendoline, thank you. Let's take a look now at Gwendoline's report, and we'll talk more on the other side.
It's 9:30 p.m. in Odessa, and the night train for Ukrainian capital Kiev has arrived on the platform. One of the passengers is 20-year-old Vadim. This is not just a routine journey to another city for him, but a step into another life.
Еду воевать, защищать свою страну. Да, конечно, я считаю, вообще вся Украина сейчас работает как один организм. Все города объединились просто во что-то в одно, во что-то в целое. Все действуют слаженно, вообще ситуация замечательная. Я верю в то, что мы сможем победить. Это будет сложно, непросто, как бы мы заплатим высокую цену, но мы обязательно победим.
In the morgue at Mykolaiv, a soldier killed by a Russian strike has been placed in his coffin by his comrades. His mother has just formally recognized the body.
Ни внучки, ничего, пустота. Невеста его смерть, а костюм его гроб теперь. Все, ничего не осталось от ребенка. Я не одна такая мама, не одна.
A father looks on in silence. He is also waiting to retrieve his son's body.
Это страх кромешный.
Жалко всех, что не знаю даже, как его правильно выразить.
Пусть русские матери посмотрят в глаза своим детям и тоже увидят там смерть.
В 8 часов начинаем ложить тела на столы, вот, и в 2 заканчиваем. А потом принимаем, выдаем Это все идет в процессе дня. Круглые сутки их привозят, потому что люди умирают круглые сутки.
Members of 22-year-old Alexander's unit close his coffin. Bodies of Ukrainian soldiers keep arriving. In the morgue, civilians and enemy fighters lie side by side.
Русские вот лежит одно тело русское. Еще тут раз, два, три, 4 тела тут лежит тоже русские. Одного, второго там расстреляли в спину, которые бежали по Башланскому кольцу, убегали от наших военных, покидали технику, покидали оружие и бежали просто по полю, их расстреляли и их потом привезли к нам.
In Mykolaiv, death is heralded by the sound of indiscriminate shells and the wail of air raid sirens. When they ring out, life moves underground. In the maternity hospital, contractions screw up the faces of patients forced to move to the basement. A newborn's first taste of life often happens here, among the pipes and machine rooms. These are the parents of Adele, who's only a few hours old.
Это не то, что не безвыходность, надо дальше как-то жить, выживать, как бы привыкать к новым реалиям, к новым условиям войны. У нас за 8 или 6 лет, да, с 2014 года, у нас, в принципе, ситуация была такая накаленная, она такая же и осталась, так что будем надеяться, что город будет в безопасности, да, как бы только за это держим кулаки.
Part of the basement is also being used as a shelter for local residents. The medical team occupies the end of the corridor and is adapting to the situation.
If we have some emergencies during the course of delivery, we put them on the fourth floor because we had only one operational or surgical block there. Of course, it's very dangerous because first, the operational theater have very big light. That's why we are the target for bombings, because everybody can see the light in the windows, and the windows are very big. Second, we are trying to do the surgeries as quick as we can, because the longer we are in the operational theater, the more dangerous the situation is.
This woman has just given birth to a baby girl by caesarean section. The alert is soon over, so the women start making their way back upstairs. At the back of the shelter, local resident Lina is finishing her night. Her neighbor is just starting his day. The night train from Odessa has arrived at Kiev station. Vadim will have to wait 2 days before going to the front. At the station, he meets Karen, a volunteer who will house him for now. He's accompanying a mother and a daughter who are leaving the capital. They live in an area of Kiev that is regularly bombed.
У меня ребенок, я не могу рисковать ребенком. Мне надо ее спрятать, чтобы это же наше будущее. Ну, я уезжаю в Ужгород, и просто потому что на данный момент сейчас это самый безопасный город в Украине. Я не хочу уезжать из Украины.
Я очень яро надеюсь, что все-таки
большинство россиян поменяют свое мнение, потому что им в мозги вписывают то, что типа они освобождают Украину от чего-то. Я надеюсь, они поймут, что это просто захват Украины. Они ни от чего нас не освобождают, они наоборот хотят угнетать. Разорванные. Украина — это такая же моя родина.
Ты его в жизни ни разу не видел. И больше, может, и не увидишь.
The front at Irpin is the closest to Kiev. The capital is just visible beyond the forest. Sergei and Taras know this road by heart. These two volunteer ambulance drivers take it several times a day to rescue trapped residents. Taras is from Ukraine. He was working as a doctor on the French island of Corsica. He left when the war started. They're out looking for several families stuck in Irpin. 3,000 residents are still in the city, and no neighborhood has escaped the fighting.
Давай, пішов. Ти майже приїхали, почекайте.
Там же розвілки нас мають забрати.
Не переживайте, вас заведе в безпечне місце, там вами займуться. Секунду, це недалеко. Там все є, там є і служба. Сова?
А води дати може?
Не плачте, все в порядку, все, кошмар кінчився.
Коли вона кончиться?
А?
Коли кончиться?
Коли це кончиться, як тільки, так відразу. Що я можу вам сказати? У вас проблеми серця нема?
The residents are taken to Kiev and safety. The second trip poses the first problem of the day for Sergei and Taras.
C'est pas approché parce qu'il y a tir croisé dans les forêts. Ils tirent les... On peut plus s'approcher.
There's fighting nearby. Ukrainian forces are trying to push back the Russian artillery positions. The volunteers have to find cover and wait.
15-25 minutes. Quand ça passe, après, normalement ça calme, on peut avancer pour chercher les civils.
Наші насипають, ответку дають, їдемо, заберемо, там люди є.
Люди є?
Да.
Permission is given to move, so Sergei leaves. When he gets to Irpin, he takes the children on board. They will have pale faces after spending several terrifying weeks in a cellar. The family is evacuated. He gets a third call. Some locals are waiting for the ambulance. Russian troops then fire a salvo of mortars at the evacuation point. The first one throws Taras off balance. The civilians are out in front and he wants to get them in. A second shell hits. Then a third. The civilians stay under cover along with the ambulance drivers. Then comes a fourth shell. Which falls on the house opposite. Taras shouts at the civilians to run to the ambulance.
Сідайте, сумку кидайте. Чекай. Добре, давай, живуй. О. Все, я бачу, що там, правильно? Так, село. Суботу. Висіть до мене так, все, притяжіться до мене, все. Вам ніхто нічого не, ви сидите і все, щоб не було.
Я зрозумів, але...
Символ, а без але, тишина.
Без поняття.
Слухай, скільки їх тут?
Я двох маю,
Виселяй, блін, хай вони сідають в бронірований, а ми вертаємося там, скоріше всього, в парад.
Він живий чи ні?
Не знаю, розговорило. Мерседес весь розворотило.
З цієї сторони, так?
Taras and Sergei go out again despite their apprehension. 20 minutes later, on their return, they check the shrapnel damage on the ambulance. The calm is also a moment to take stock of the stories and faces of those who have experienced the full force of war.
Les visages de ces gens civils, chaque personne c'est un destin, c'est une personnalité, c'est une vie qui est passée une vie qui commence, une vie qui va vers la fin, une vie qui se déroule, et tout ça c'est détruit.
And we're back with Gwendoline De Bono. Gwendoline, as we just saw in your report there, rescuers are really demonstrating tremendous courage, especially since the Russians have been targeting civilians. What seemed to be the goal of the Russians where you were in terms of military strategy?
It's really hard to say. By this time, the whole area had become a front line. So were they targeting Ukrainian soldier in a house, an artillery piece? Did they want to cover their withdrawal maneuver from the northwest of Kyiv? It's possible. In any case, it actually shows a Russian specificity, which is the massive use of artillery. It's the main advantage of the Russian army, which compensates for its weakness with this use of artillery, and it really rules the life of Ukrainians who are living in the most exposed places. They spend hours in cellars, in basement. We can see that in the report. So the Russian troops use massively the artillery, and the day I was with the paramedics, I don't think they were specifically targeting the ambulance, but it's just that when they shell, if it falls on an ambulance, on civilians, or old people, children, it's just the least of their concerns.
Well, and Gwendoline, we're also now seeing the extent of the atrocities that Russia has committed, especially in these civilian areas around the capital. Of course, Russia is calling this fake news. What do you make of that response?
Well, I wasn't in those localities around Kyiv a few days ago, but Moscow must be taken literally when it says that its main goal is to denazify Ukraine. All Ukrainians who are not pro-Russian are seen as at least pro-Nazi, so you can do whatever you want. I went to a city called Bosnisiansk in the middle of March. The Russians briefly occupied it for 3 days, and already they were searching the phone. They looted absolutely everything in the houses. Maybe many of them emptied a bottle of alcohol. Which saved the inhabitants there is actually the fighting, because the Russians had to retreat after 3 days. But we were talking about those paramedics nearby Irpin. One of their team was kidnapped by the Russian. They've been trapped with a fake call, with a fake mandate. So kidnapping is also a regular practice. Once again, this official Russian speech, which dehumanizes the Ukrainian, is translated into action through the Russian units in Ukraine.
Okay, Gwendoline, thanks so much for your reporting, and we're glad that you're safe. Well, to see Gwendoline's report and past editions of Reporters, just log on to our website, France24.com. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more world news here on France 24.